Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I hope my team they won.
Yeah. Man.
I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won.
Yeah.
I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. As you see, Mike Washington is out on assignment, and I've been pecked by the right hand because you see I got Alabama A&M. The wife didn't call the number. All of a sudden, I see this shirt in my bag, and then I get this funny text message to say, "Hey, aren't you doing the show today?" I said, yes. Why do you ask? I always do the show on Thursday. Oh, there's something in your bag that you might want to, put on, and since we are on in your poll and stuff like that, you might want to show everybody. I said, okay, touche, I understand. I know where I want to come home to. So I was like, no problem whatsoever. So Charles, you seem like you put on your little jacket, you switch to your Texas Southern. I do the same thing.
Yeah, you better. That's smart. That's smart.
No doubt about it.
He said, you better walk in the house
Dr.
and go Bulldogs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Welcome to episode 180 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash from all things HBCU sports. From institutions large and small, from NEIA to the NCCA, we share insights and information on HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studio and sending signal loud to KCWH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, that's Ralph Cooper, in a beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, we did a special edition to kind of warm things up. So check us out. That's BCSN special edition. You'll see more of these coming throughout the year. What we do, you just 15 minutes or 30-minute hot takes with an interview of a coach, an athletic director, or maybe even a player. This is something that Roy specializes in and kind of got the creative juices going and recommended to me. I was like, man, that's brilliant. So we're going to get that going. So check those out. But check out the one we had today. We had the interview of the new Allen University Athletic Director, Joshua Cox. Did that in coordination with Sports Wrap. That's Brian and AD. Brian is sneaking around the chicken coop. So we might have a surprise for you in terms of bringing you some insights of what's going on. So we'll see what's going on with that measure. With that being said, today's episode of Inside the Sports Lab is sponsored by THC Agency. It is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. We got a hot show, a lot going on. Yes, we know 6:30. The game is upon us. Alabama A&M, the number one ranked Alabama A&M, is on the road. Daytona Beach, Bethune-Cookman University, the Wildcats. So we'll get a chance to maybe chime in that a little bit. We'll find a way. We might even sneak in some stuff. We have some special assignments going on. So we'll see what you have to do in terms of what's going on there. With that being said, Charles, how you doing today?
Doing well, Dr. Bill. We got some football tonight, so looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with this early SWAC East showdown with the Alabama A&M Bulldogs visiting Daytona Beach. I heard it's a little bit of inclement weather down that way, so it's going to be interesting to see how that game plays out tonight.
Yeah, with that being said, let's just jump right into it. SWAC men's and women cross country runner up. Got some news information, and we spread it around. Just like, is that South Carolina State I see in the background volleyball? Is that what you got going on?
It is. It's South Carolina State and the Citadel. Looks like the Citadel is up 2 sets to right now in terms of this is the third set right here, and they're up 15-7 here in this third set. So.
Man, only on Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab can you get minute-by-minute updates on HBCU sporting contests. Thank you, Charles. Great job there. With that being said, let me get back into it. SWAC men's women's cross country. Thornton led Alabama State at the Alzaya City Classic, finishing 20th place overall. Time of 18:41.20. He finished just seconds behind Lance Keat of Mobile. Jones led Alabama State to a third place finish overall in the Alzaya Classic with her best finish so far this season. She finished sixth 5K race with a time of 20:45.5. Well, Alabama State continues to do what they do in track, and you wonder why they win the indoor and outdoor right there on the cusp of it. A lot of it has to do what they're able to do with cross country and pulling those folks over. And plus, they just got fast people and a lot of folks deep in the track and field in different areas. But with that said, let me go back to you, Charles. What else you got for us?
Kat Tarvin named North Carolina Central head softball coach. This comes from MEACsports.com by Director of Athletics, Dr. Ingrid Wicker-McCree. She announced the promotion of Kat Tarvin to head coach of the North Carolina Central softball program, where she has been serving as the interim softball coach during the 2021 season. And prior to that was an assistant coach for the Eagles for 3 seasons prior. So she has been promoted to head coach of North Carolina Central softball program. So covering all bases. You know, it's football season, but you got cross country going on, you got volleyball going on, and here's a little bit of softball news going on here in the fall.
Oh man, look at that. Well, we look like we have our special guest coming in here in a little bit. Let's see if we can go to him. We have Brian. He is actually in Daytona. He's in Daytona Beach. Yeah, the Daytona Beach where the game is going on tonight. He's inside there, so we're trying to hook that up. So we're going to bring him to give us some insights of what it looks like down there. So we'll bring him in shortly. But with that being said, I did want to get into a little bit. We're going to announce week 2 of the marching sport poll ranking. So we're going to see what Charles thinks about that in terms of, he said he's interested to see what the people think of the marching sport poll ranking. We'll do that at about 6:15 or so after we come back from our first quarter break. But as we're getting ready for that, I did want to get your just general thoughts, Charles, in terms of this weekend coming up. We'll get into some of these matchups, if you would, with the Southland playing several of the SWAC schools. And then you have Atlantic Sun. And just to name that, this is a little bit outside of HBCUs. But Atlantic Sun, as you know, is in OVC. That's home to Tennessee State. It had 7 members. They lost 2 members to the Atlantic Sun, one in Eastern Kentucky, as well as in Jacksonville State. Well, guess what? Not so fast. Teams weren't finished. They're also losing Austin Peay. They go down to 6 teams. This is getting quite interesting. What is happening to the OVC? What does this mean for Tennessee State? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's the big thing. I think when you, and Dr. Bill, to your credit, you said conference churning never stops. It never stops. And we see Austin Peay now making a move to the ASUN. And of course, the spotlight now shines on, a weakened OVC, and the spotlight shines on Tennessee State in terms of do they continue forth within this conference. There's this conference that is within their geographic footprint, but it's no secret they are within the geographic footprint of the 2 traditional HBCU conferences as well. So I think a lot of people will start asking questions, and especially when you take a look at 46,000 Southern Heritage Classic, the fan interest for Tennessee State. What does that mean? So I think, as an athletic director, you kind of have to start assessing the environment and making useful notes of the data points that are available.
With that said, let's take a quick break as we get into it. We'll make this break a little earlier than usual. We'll come back on the backside and get into it, and then we'll get into some marching sport. This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Line with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Stick with us as it's a hot one. We got a nice game tonight. We have the #1 team on the road in Daytona, Bethune-Cookman, the new member of the Southwestern Athletic Conference, along with FAMU. They tuned in and got it down with Jackson State. Jackson State showed the old SWAC guard. Will it happen again tonight? We shall see. It's fascinating. A lot of the lab lecture listeners are in. We're going to give you everything you need to know about all of this and then some. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show. From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High-quality cigars plus personal customer service with Slow Burn. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. It's more than a mobile lounge. It's an environment and an experience rich in history, luxury, and personality. An elegant extension of any celebration occasion. It's the perfect escape and meeting place, a space where you can relax or enjoy a shared passion. Have Slow Burn plan your next big event, or before you are planning to celebrate your win over your athletic rival, you can shop our collections at www.slowburnwaco.com.
But if they want, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, yes sir.
This is Dr. Lil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Yeah, Rod, pass you out there. That's one of the twins, I believe. Talking about A&M dogs in the house, almost game time. He out there with them watch parties in Atlanta. I heard they're going deep over there. Shout out to Dwight Moore. Who else we got in here? Garland, Malone, Reginald Johnson is in the house. I see you. Hello, people in the HBCU Sports Lab. I like it. Bill Russell's in here. Miles Golden Nation is in the house. That's the Golden Bears. William Davis, Merritt Allen in the house. I appreciate y'all. We got Price up in here. Noel Price. Ricky Burton is always in the house. Fred with it. HBCU Heritage Center, BCSE, HBCU Football History at HBCUs. I see it all of it. Need larger facilities to grow the capacity to make sure you can get some more games at home. I understand that. Most stadiums are less than 25,000 seats, and arenas are less than 5,000. Great points when you talk about that. TSU to the SWAC. Y'all gonna already start that, Stephen Miller? Hey, man. Wow. HBCU Classic Major Division Game of the Week. Howard University 0-2 on the season versus Hampton Pirates 1-1. This is a Big South versus MEAC matchup, a MEAC versus Big South matchup, Saturday, September 18th at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. They get up early and get it done. That's a noon kickoff for them in the East Coast. It is the Truth in Service Classic, Battle of the Real HU in Audi Field, Washington, D.C. Charles, what do you say about this matchup? Who is going to come out as the real HU?
Battle of the Real HU. This should be a very interesting one. Let me go with the Big South on this one. Let me go with the Hampton Pirates to get this win over Howard. I think Howard's still in the kind of that transition sort of deal where they're still trying to get their talent over there to the Howard Bison. So I'm going to go with the Pirates on this.
Yeah, they're Howard Bison are still trying to redevelop what they thought they built for that quick minute when they became relevant again. I hate that it didn't work out. It is a fun place when Howard is in the business of football. But it looks like they're trying to figure it out a little bit here. So I can see where you're going with that. Let's go in the HBCU independent non-conference matchups division of the game. It was so nice that I couldn't just do one. I did two. Both of these, you'll notice, these are home games. There's 4 games that I think you need to keep your eyes on this week. Arkansas Pine Bluff, right? Traveling to Central Arkansas. That's Atlantic Sun matchup of the SWAC, but that's on the road. You also have Mississippi Valley, SWAC, traveling to a Southland team, Stephen F. Austin. That's on the road. Keep your eyes on those, but there are 2 that really catch me. These are top 10 teams in terms of HBCU, Dr. Phil's rankings. I go with the first one, which is a number 7 Southern, 1-1 on the season. They face McNeese Cowboys, historically white college out of the Southland. That's 0-2 on the season. This is a Southland Conference versus SWAC. The intriguing part of this is a home game. We saw what Alcorn State was able to do with their home game. We saw what other teams didn't do quite well on the road. This is a chance to make another statement, and you have them in your barn, if you would. What's your thoughts on this first one? In Baton Rouge, McNeese State Cowboys versus the number 7 Southern Jaguars. Some key players to watch out in this matchup. I'm sure you talk about some guys that can continue to put their name in the lights. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup, Charles?
Yeah, this is a huge matchup for Southern in terms of taking on this Southland Conference opponent that's right there in their recruiting footprint. Cody Ogeron for McNeese State, he has not thrown an interception in 159 straight attempts. So it'll be interesting to see can Southern get to him and try to put a little bit of pressure on him. But if you're Southern, you stick to the script. You got 4 all-SWAC offensive linemen, and you can beat up teams running the football. Craig Nelson, he rushed for 134 yards this past week. And then you also had Glendon Bubba McDaniel. He played instead of Darius Skelton. He went 10 of 13 for 140 yards. So you were able to get something moving through the air as well. So I look for Southern to get this win. They have to out-physical McNeese State. They have to lean on that offensive line. You know, we saw them do this against Miles second half. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the first 8 plays in the second half, Southern came down with 7 straight runs. So they have to beat them up front. So I look for Southern to get this win.
So, Southland, SWAC, you're going with Southern. Put on your mask. 2ttickets.com if you need some masks, especially in the SWAC, and you want your logo-friendly SWAC and your conference official. Now you can go to 2ttickets.com and get that. It sounds like Charles is still with the SWAC in the first matchup home game, Southern Jaguars. Let's go to the second one. It's interesting to me. It is also a Southland Conference. You'll see the refrain. It is Houston Baptist Huskies, a historically white college, 0-2 also on the season. They're at number 8, Prairie A&M Panthers, that are 1-1 in the season and started 1-0 in the conference as they defeated Texas Southern, lost the incarnate word last weekend. They're at Panther Stadium. That's Prairie, Texas. They're at home. This is a 6 o'clock game as well. So you have to keep your eyes on both of these games if you're at one of them attending. What are your thoughts in terms of this matchup? Which direction are you going in terms of this one, Charles?
I hope my PV defensive backs have been on the treadmill and got their cardio ready to go for this game, because we know Houston Baptist, they're going to throw the ball all over the place. They got another quarterback, Blaze Benson, who likes to chunk the ball around. Also got a nice linebacker, Brennan Young. He had 11 tackles in their loss last week in Northern Colorado. So it'll be a very interesting matchup, but I'm going to lean on Juwan Pass to be able to pass the ball like Prairie needs to pass the ball in this game and really get that offense up and clicking. He threw for 300 yards in the first game against Texas Southern. So I'm going to go with the Panthers on this to get this win at home. Got to win those home openers. Got to win those SWAC Southland Conference matchups. So I'm going to go with Prairie on this one.
Yep, he's going with Prairie. Masked up. As you got it. Again, you go 2ttickets.com and get your mask as you get it done. It's interesting when you talk about that type of matchup. As we move further along into this, let me get back in there and shout out to some of these folks following us. Stephen A. Miller said PV all day. PV over Houston, says Dwight Moore. Houston Baptist to give SWAC another win out of conference. Big. I like the way people are thinking. Chad Cooper says, I want Southern to avenge the loss when they committed 5 turnovers and blew it. A chance to take it in Lake Charles. Go Jags. Great point. They really dominated the game in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
See if they can get it done this time. James Knox talks about Howard over Hampton. Surprised? Yeah, I see you, James. I see what you're talking about. I'll take Southern in that one. All right. We got some folks getting out there. I like this. Let's keep this going. Alan Bozeman says Southern looks good. I agree with you. They look good. Let's go Jags. Trudy Jackson says. Whitemore says SU over McNeese to give SWAC the win. I'm out of conference FCS, so it looks in terms of FCS. Sounds people are talking about those home matchups being able to get a couple of victories.
I see Stephen Gates had a comment in there as well. So
what did he say?
He said,
my man. Go check out the article he did where he got into the data points. Let me sneak this in real quick. Now I want you to say what he got to say. We're gonna make sure everybody hears Steve Gates because he gets it done. HBCU game day. Those articles he writes just have me cracking up. But get an analysis, and you know what I like. I like analysis. He even teased Mike out of this one. He said, "Here's some data points." I sent it to Mike too. Data points on the SIAC and the CIAA matchup. I really liked it because it just happened this way, and I think it's a reason if they could try to do this a little more about creating these matchups. But the matchups this year are fascinating because they happen to be teams, at least in the predicted order finish, that are matching up in terms of where people predicted where they should be. And they've been relatively good, close contests. What did Steve Gaither say? What did he bring to the table this time?
He said, didn't PV learn their lesson from playing religious schools? They got
yeah, no doubt. I'll give a shout out to Joe Clay. He said that. He said, man, we went down there and dealt with the Catholic. So now we're gonna see what the Baptists gonna do.
Right.
So we'll see that. So you're right. There's just something going on there. The Whitemore says PV over Houston Baptist to give SWAC another one as is talked about. So we got it going on Prairie View, Purple Haze to the home win. Yeah, Purple Haze. See that Purple Haze defense. I love to see that back out there. That's going to be a key part. He's right. To see what they do on the defensive side. Offensively, I think they can get it done in some ways. Even last week against Incarnate Word, while they didn't get in touchdowns, had a lot of turnovers, but they put up the yardage. So I think they can get it done on that side, defense.
Jason Dumas has to have a huge game for Prairie View in this. You got to get some pressure on HBU's quarterbacks. I saw it up close against Texas Southern. They weren't able to get much of a pass rush. And quarterback a couple of years ago threw for 400 yards. So they love to chunk the ball around a little bit.
Man, let's break it in before we get into the mid-major classic games of the week. Let's do this. Let's get into week 2 marching sport. A lot of people are interested in this. Let's get into the marching sport. We got the top 10. You'll be able to go to BCSN in a couple of weeks and you'll see all this. Right now, we just have it here. We're going to tease it out. Give you the top 10. We're not going to speak a lot of time on the top 10, but we'll tease that. I want to focus on the top 5. But let's show the people. Let's show them a little bit about the top 10, 6 through 10 in terms of week number 2 in the marching sport. You see that? Edward sneaks back in. Number 2, they actually went on the road on the Thursday night game and took it to Benedict. Benedict played well. But when you have a team go on the road and play just as well, you got to lean. They get the victory. So they come in, they're now 2-0. So they jump back into the thick of things. Have a couple of teams moving around there. Langston falls out. Moves up a spot from 7. You got Tennessee State falling out of the top 5. That's because of a head-to-head matchup. So let's see where Jackson State, that was in the head-to-head, where they match up. Let's go in this top 5. Top 5. 5 is Prairie View, A&M, the Marching Storm. They stay in the top 5, but they fall a slot. They haven't had a matchup this week, so they're living off of that Labor Day Classic where they got the victory head-to-head. They're 1-0 overall, 1-0 in the conference race with a head-to-head matchup with a conference member. You have Bethune-Cookman, the Marching Wildcats, a 1-0. They do play tonight, as we know, but I don't believe Alabama A&M is traveling on the road. We'll check that out to see if we actually get a contest there. At number 3, Jackson State jumps up 3 slots after many people said they slaughtered Tennessee State.
Interesting.
At least according to Alan Williams. Alan Williams said they should be number 1. So I want to get that out there. There is some folks that believe they should be number 1. They do get a first place vote. They move up to 2-1. They have the most contests head-to-head this season. They had that tough loss head-to-head against FAMU that's holding them back a little bit. 0-1 in the conference race, but they're still top 3. They got some big matchups coming up this year, so they have a chance to move around. We'll see. At number 2, Southern Jukebox. They took on Miles College. Miles College is a game program. Mid-major, You don't think about them much, but they're really solid. They won that head-to-head. Miles gave them a little bit of business and put them in there and still have one first-place vote, 85 points. They do slide up, do a spot to number 2. Number 1 remains Florida A&M Marching Store. They took on Fort Valley State, got it done 2-0. We'll see. It gets a little tougher as things move around. We'll see if this stands up. Charles, I know you're interested in this, and you said the folks going to give me a lot of talking about it. I'll go to you to give you the first shot to let me know what are your thoughts on week number 2 sport poll ranking. And the way we do it, just to remind everybody, this is not a fan poll to talk about who has the biggest fan out there, who can go rig the box and get more people to vote. That's not any sporting contest. This is marching sport. We measure this. This is head-to-head when you go across another band, not when you just up there satisfying your fans because you popular and get all excited. This is about 2 marching sports going head-to-head at halftime. Who takes home the victory that week, and we will update the polls. Right now, this is my top 5. I want to know what Charles Bishop thinks of my week number 2 in the marching sport. Dr. Bill's poll ranking.
It's very interesting. I'm getting a text actually as we talk. And, you know, it's our former guest, James Wesley. He's come on, a former head drum major at Jackson State. And he said the thing that you have to watch with these head-to-head battles is, you know, they're the big bands, Jackson State, Florida A&M, Southern, they can outpower most bands. They can just actually just overpower them. But he's like, the way bands are able to level the playing field is the arrangements. And he said he was very, very pleased with Tennessee State's arrangements. He was saying that most years Jackson State can just overpower Tennessee State. And for the most part, they felt as though they're just a better band than Aristocrat. But he was pleasantly surprised with the Aristocrats' performance this past year, especially looking at the 5th quarter. He thought they had some tremendous arrangements that really went toe-to-toe with Jackson State. So very interesting comments from a band head, so to speak.
Oh, I love it. And tell Westby, if he wants to, he can get a little some of this. Tell him to send in his matchups. When he sees head-to-head matchup, tell him he can vote on this. Send in my vote. Give him my email. Let him know. I won't take a person. Just send it in. We'll put him up in there. There's people voting on this. He has the skills. He has the background. Just let him know that this is not about, and it sounds like he understands completely. This is not about a fan popularity contest. This is not about the size of the band where you just blow people out. This is about understanding matchups, right? Mm-hmm. Who has the better sound? Who does the better show? Yes, there's a part of it where you got to get the crowd. Who wins the crowd? All of those come into play. But at the end of the day, when it goes to 0 in terms of the 5th quarter, somebody wins, somebody loses. Marching sport, HBCU marching sport. There is a winner and there is a loser in sport. That's what's going on in the poll ranking for Dr. Cavil. So tell him to know if he wants to follow rules, he wants to get in, we welcome him to do that. And near the end, we'll start teasing him and giving him to come on and give us some opinions of what he's seen out the year to see what he thinks about the poll. People will probably get a kick out of that. A real HBCU drum major coming and talking and all that. Then we got one, Prairie, one of the first women, second women to be a drum major. We'll see about getting her in. 1876 Sports and Podcasts. We'll let her come in and critique the poll a little bit. So we're going to see. We're going to do what the people want, and that's what's going on. As we get into this a little more, because we're going to see what we can do about the game, I do want to get in and talk a little bit more about these mid-major classes. But this is what we'll do. We'll take our second break as we get into the second half of the show. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is on assignment. I want to know what everybody thinks about the poll, the marching poll, sport poll. Anthony Weston says, go Alabama A&M Bulldogs. I think somebody excited a little bit. Troy says, we A&T should be banned win every week when we in the Big South team. Yeah, I got to figure out how I'm going to measure A&T. This is a marching sport, HBCU marching sport. We don't want no historically white colleges in it. We'll talk about you in the poll ranking. But how you going to have a head-to-head matchup, especially when I seen that one that AD put out there about homecoming? He was like, lead a band at home. Will they even show up against A&T? Will the band even show up. They might even way I see in the Big South, based on what I saw at Baylor and some of those places, they gonna ask can the band come back and represent their school. That's not a matchup. Head to head, he right. They will be undefeated. They will be undefeated in the Big South without question. That's not even a fair fight.
I'm gonna put it out there, Doc. Looks like A&T, Hampton, all them Big South bands, you've opted out of these band polls. So, it is what it is.
Dr. Cavill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break. I like that.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is on assignment. Charles, before we get into the mid-majors, let's stick with a major game that's against the FBS program. Tease us out a little bit. Jackson State is undefeated. Give us your thoughts on this matchup in terms of Jackson State. People are considering, is this one that the SWAC can get? Is this one that HBCU, FCS can get, as we've seen North Carolina A&T be able to pull some of these FBS wins over the last couple of years? Is this another one that's on the horizon that you can see making it happen? And if so, what would Jackson State need to do to get it done?
Yeah, one of the things that I took from Terry Bowden's press conference this past week is he said, basically we are playing another Group of 5 team in terms of playing Jackson State. A lot of the same guys that Jackson State has on the team, he was like UL Monroe, they actively recruited, and Jackson State was able to win that recruiting battle. So he basically had to explain to his fan base, this will not be sort of your typical FBS versus FCS matchup. He respects Jackson State as a football program. And, Jackson State is going into this game with a tremendous amount of swagger. You've heard Coach Prime talk about, we're not expecting to go in and take this whooping, line down. So it should be a very, very interesting matchup. I think definitely Jackson State has to start out fast, and they have to capitalize in the red zone. They have to make once they get in the red zone, once they get scoring opportunities to actually put the ball in the end zone and put pressure on UL Monroe. If they start out fast, and we've seen with these FCS versus FBS matchups, when you start out fast and put pressure on the FBS team, they tend to sort of play out of character and make mistakes. And you have to capitalize on those mistakes.
Yes, as everybody gets into it and getting ready for that Alabama A&M Bethune-Cookman, as weather would have it in Florida, Daytona Beach, there's a weather delay. Shout out to Noel Price, jumped in here with that. Stephen A. Miller is putting that up in here, just talking about delayed kickoff due to the weather. We have it up. We would have a little surprise to you. If we can get through the show, we might pull it up a little bit and show you a watch party throughout the screen. We're going to wait to see if they can get a kickoff going before we go off air. But as we're waiting on that, let's get back into some of this football talk. Mid-major classic game of the week features two HBCUs, Virginia Lynchburg 0-1 at Virginia Union Panthers of the CIAA. Virginia Union Panthers are 0-2 in this. This is an independent versus CIAA. This is a chance for a CIAA to get non-conference win outside of Bowie State. And Virginia State is one of those programs that has gotten it done over a couple of years and keeps pushing a little closer to the top Northern Division with Bowie State. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. This game is in Richmond, Virginia. Hoovie Field, Willard Bailey Classic. Excuse me about that. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Will this even be a contest, or is this one that the Panthers show up, show out, and get it done, and it's over quite early?
Show up, show out, get it done quite early. We've seen this with Virginia Lynchburg. ADs welcome them to the schedule. So I very much expect for Virginia Union to show up, show out, and drop the hammer on Lynchburg this weekend.
With that being said, Tuesday, we really got in some of those HBCU heavy matchups, particularly with Alabama A&M and Bethune-Cookman. Before we close out, we'll go back and rewind and give a little more back on that again as we get into this matchup even more today, as soon as they're able to kick it off due to weather. But this is another example of that historical white college and HBCU matchup that we talked about in the first half of the show, specifically with SWAC teams against, when I say SWAC teams, I should say against the Southland Conference. Now we have one at the Division II level. Top 10 team, top 3 in my poll rankings, top 25 team nationally at the Division II level. You have Bowie State Bulldogs, number 3, going on the road. They're 1-1 on the season. They go to West Haven, Connecticut. W.E. Anderson Stadium. This is against the Northeast 10 Division II conference team, who is 0-1 in the season. Intriguing matchup. What are your thoughts in terms of Bowie State going on the road? Can they do it again? Can they get that non-conference win at the Division II program? Break down this game and give us some thoughts in terms of this matchup as you do.
Well, this is definitely one where Jerome Johnson has to be Jerome Johnson. I mean, we've seen how he has the ability to show out and show off his arm. And you take a look at last week, 27 of 35, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's what you have to have. You got to take that on the road. You also have their big man in the middle, Prairie, who really creates all sorts of havoc along the defensive line. You got to have your superstars show up in these sorts of games, especially when you're playing that sort of talent on the road. So, I'm going to take Bowie State, but it's going to be a tough one, Dr. Bill. Going to be a real tough one for Bowie State to get this win.
Yeah, I do. I think it's a tough one. Team that can get at Division II level, you got to believe it would be Bowie State. With that being said, let's go back and visit a little bit of this Alabama A&M Bethune-Cookman. Top 10 matchup, number 1 team on the road. Weather delay. What does this do in your opinion in terms of this matchup? First, let's go into the emotional setting, and then we'll go into the weather in terms of how it may make things play out. But you anticipate this matchup, and this could be on both sides. Home team anticipates, get out there. Now you got this weather team on the road. They want to play. They're excited about this. They're on national TV in terms of ESPNU. How do you think this can and will affect these teams? Starting with Alabama A&M, how do you think it affects them, and then go to the home team with Bethune-Cookman?
Well, I'm always concerned when you have weather and a team that throws the ball as much and as often as Alabama A&M does. That's not to say they can't get it done. Quill Glass, of course, he has the receivers, Abdul Fattah Ibrahim, Abdul Hilaire, and Xavier Moore, great tight end as well. But when you have weather involved, it evens the playing field a little bit more. And I think this plays right into the hands of Bethune-Cookman in terms of historically, they've had a stingy defense. They're led by Ontario Johnson and Caleb Sutherland. But, it creates a little bit more of, I think, an opportunity for some turnovers. So I will see if Bethune-Cookman can make hay of sloppy conditions and really can turn the game over to their running game, because that's one of the things I did notice when they played UTEP. They had a nice running stats in that game. So we know that, they have an athletic quarterback, Shannon Patrick. He likes to throw the ball around a little bit too, but I like the way he gets out of the pocket and can make some things happen. Going to be tough, I think, for Bethune-Cookman, but I'm still leaning towards Alabama A&M in this game. I just think the firepower is just different than a lot of SWAC teams.
Yeah, great point. So let's go in terms of the weather. How do you think the weather could play a role? Starting with the home team in terms of they usually like to run the ball, but they also throw it around a bit. And we're looking to probably throw it around a little more this season in the past. Certainly we know Alabama A&M like to throw the ball. How do you think that may affect this game when you talk about the weather that may be involved?
I mean, when we talk about Alabama A&M, we don't talk, about Gary Qualls all the time. I mean, he's a heck of a running back, but we talk about Alabama A&M's passing game. So I think the weather definitely affects that. I mean, when you're talking about slick balls and things of that nature, it creates an opportunity for, passes to go out fingertips and things of that nature and fumbles, things of that nature. So, I just think it levels the playing field a little bit more, and it gives Bethune-Cookman that slight advantage that I think is helpful to them in this game.
With that being said, this is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike and Charles Bishop. Going into it, this is what we need to know, though, Charles. Who are you picking? All that sounds good. You set it up really well. Now you got to pick. You going with the new member of the SWAC, Bethune-Cookman, the home team? Or you going with the number one team currently at this point, Alabama A&M, going on the road? Are they going to get it done? Who you have?
To beat a man, you got to beat the man. And the man right now is Alabama A&M and a quill glass and everything that Alabama A&M brings to the table. So I'm still going to go with the Bulldogs. I think the firepower is that much more than a lot of teams in the SWAC. It's going to be tough to knock them off. A quill glass is definitely an NFL prospect. And when you have, we often say it, Dr. Bill, half quarterback, half win. So they got the quarterback right now.
That's pretty good one. Half quarterback, half win. No doubt about it. I've seen that quite a bit because I've seen it when you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a win.
It's a long season. It's a long season if you ain't got a signal call. Long season.
This is Dr. Cavil. It's the HBC Sports Lab. Hope you're enjoying the show. Stick with us. We know the game is not on yet. We'll pull you around. We'll pull you through it as you're trying to get through your withdrawals of the game not kicking off. And we got some fun things in store for you as they get it done. We were going to try to bring in Brian. He's out there in Daytona, but he's dealing with the weather as well, as he can't quite get a signal in there to get into it. So we have the plans for you, but we'll keep on this. We'll sneak some things out. Like we said earlier, go back if you get a chance. Check out the interview with Jasher Cox as we did a special edition of the BCSN, joining up with Sports Rap with Brian and AD and Dr. Mills inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So after the game, make sure you check on that interview. With that being said, stick with us. We'll be right back with our last break, getting into the fourth quarter. It gets interesting. Put up those four. This is fourth quarter. Lead it to us, and we'll take you into the game time. This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. That's right, holding up. It's four.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
This is Carlos Brown, letting you know that we're on the move. You can now catch the Carlos Brown Show beginning this July on the Black College Sports Network each and every Saturday from 11 to 1 Eastern Time. That's 10 to 12 Central Time. Same time, new place. On Facebook at the Carlos Brown Show and Black College Sports Network. Online at www.mybcsn.net and on the BCSN app available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to loss, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Getting in here. Let's get back into it a little bit as the still in a rain delay, so stick with us. We'll hold you over as we get into it. We'll go right up to the top of the hour, plug it in and see if we can get some of this in here. But let's go back to some of these other HBCU games since we got a little more time to get into it. One that I know is interesting to you in a lot of ways, just what has happened a couple of years and then what you were able to do to Tennessee State. Tennessee State is back home, Nashville, Tennessee, Nissan Stadium. They take on Kentucky State in terms of Tennessee State. What are your thoughts in terms of that matchup?
I'm a little wary of this. Tennessee State is playing 2 or 3 different quarterbacks right now. They played 2 against Jackson State. And Kentucky State, they have the ability, I think, to control the ball, control time of possession, keep our offense off the field, as well as, keep a defense on the field and tire them out. Brett Selby is one of the best running backs, I think, in the SIAC. And Kentucky State can give you problems. Now, whether they can stop Tennessee State, completely different thing. But we saw what they were able to do against Jackson State 2 years ago. And Tennessee State, I think, is a team right now searching for an identity. We know they run the ball downhill. Jackson State was able to kind of control their running game, and they weren't able to get some things going in the passing game. So this is a winnable game. Unbelievably, this is a winnable game for Kentucky State.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting for a lot of ways. Can Kentucky State sneak in there and get another FCS team this weekend? It'd be fascinating. As we kind of get prepared to wrap this up, one of the ones we talked about is that Arkansas Pine Bluff at Central Arkansas in terms of FBS program. Any thoughts on that matchup in terms of what that may look at this weekend?
Yeah, as Skylar Perry goes, so goes the Golden Lions. He led them in undoubtedly passing, but also led them in rushing in the game against Lane, which I thought was a little bit surprising. But, he's a mobile quarterback and get it done with both his arms and his legs. It's going to be a tough matchup going against one of the better defensive ends, I think, in the ASUN, and Logan Jessup. He was Defensive Player of the Week this past week for Central Arkansas. They also got a freshman running back that I think is pretty tough. He was the Freshman of the Week. He averaged 9.9 yards on just 8 carries last week for UCA. So it's going to be a tough one. They're playing on the road. But, I like Doc Gamble's teams. I like how he has them prepared to play. But that's a tough matchup for UAPB going into Central Arkansas and trying to get this W.
Yeah, with that being said, SIAC, let me know any one of these you can pull out, which direction you want to go. Conference matchups, you have Fort Valley State, Lane. That's an interesting. Fort Valley is the home team there, so Lane is on the road traveling. Got a big win last time they came to Georgia this last weekend, beating Atlanta University. Are they going to be able to come back in Georgia and get it against Fort Valley State? Fort Valley State had that big win, opening surprise, and really beat up on Tuskegee. Then they went up in competition playing at FAMU, held their own for the first half. And then the other one you have is Miles College. Can they bounce back after stepping up, playing 2 FCS programs, Alabama State, state rival, and then going over to Baton Rouge? Played both of those games right down to the wire in terms of Alabama State. Had their way with Southern in the first half, but now they take on Morehouse. Morehouse is struggling a little bit. Any one of these games, anything surprise you, anything to consider? Is the Fort Valley Lane game a little more interesting to you, or do you say Morehouse maybe can find a way, sneak and get something done against Miles? They are at home. It is in Atlanta.
Yeah, no chance for Morehouse against Miles. I love the way Miles plays defense. They have given two SWAC teams all that they can handle in the first 2 weeks of the season. Fort Valley and Lane is an intriguing matchup. We saw Fort Valley really were able to get some things done really nice, I thought, against FAMU. But Lane has a very good quarterback, Tariq McKenzie, a nice receiver, Anthony Evelyn. When you take a look at McKenzie coming into the season, very efficient quarterback, 16 touchdowns versus only 2 interceptions, so he protects the football. But they have 2 all-SIAC talents on the defensive side of the ball. You take a look at linebackers, Bray McKenzie and Jeffrey Johnson. They are able to plug the run very well for Lane. So this will be a tough matchup. Who's the home game in this? I think Lane is going on the road to Fort Valley.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. That being said, give me Fort Valley at home.
I knew you.
I love a home team.
I know you go with the home team. Miles, maybe not so much. But Fort Valley at home, yes, I agree with you. Yeah. That's the way you look at that in a lot of ways. One that I do want to kind of end it on and really get in here. We had Jasher Cox, obviously, taking over the athletic role at Allen University. They got the first win last week over CIAA. Talk about some of those CIAA, SIAC matchups. You got another one right here. Livingston, Allen University. Livingston is struggling. It is home game for Allen, Columbia, South Carolina. What are your thoughts in terms of that matchup as you get it done in terms of that SIAC, CIAA matchup? I'm fascinated when those go down. Can the CIAA get off the snide, or is another one where the SIAC continues to show how they have rebounded and started to dominate over the CIAA? The other one you have is that Central State Shaw matchup in Raleigh, North Carolina, George William Complex. So fascinating against these two SIAC, CIAA. Currently, the SIAC is undefeated against CIAA. Will we see anything changing in the guards this week, or will we see more of the same?
No, we will not. We will see more of the same. I think Stephen Gaither wrote about it. The SIAC, they figured out if your name is not Bowie State or Virginia Union, it's kind of tough on you.
Good one. Dwight Moore's gotten into it. He's got Kentucky State will beat Tennessee State. He says Central Arkansas will hang on to beat UAB. It's a close one. So UAB is going to represent. With that being said, I hope they can find a way to sneak out the win. But if they represent, that's a good one that they'll be in that game. It's a tough matchup. Maybe they can pull it out. He has Fort Valley and Miles will have blowout wins in terms of what this said. I agree with him in a lot of ways. With that being said, any closing statements you want to give us, Charles, in terms of this week number 3? It's moving fast. I can't believe it. It seems like we were pulling teeth to get to here, and now we get in here, and these things are just churning and running as you would in terms of what things to look at. What are your thoughts on this week number 3?
Whenever we get that weather delay behind us, we get our early data points with Alabama A&M and Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman, they will tell you in a heartbeat, they haven't lost to the SWAC since God was a child. So I want to see what they're going to do tonight with Alabama A&M. So this will be a fascinating matchup. That's what they'll tell you. That's right. They will tell you in a heartbeat, we don't lose to the SWAC. So now that we're here, guess what? You know, they had a whole hype video behind it. So go ahead, BCU. I like that. I like that coming in with the swagger. So why not?
I see it. Well, that'll do it for our show today. Thank y'all for sticking around. Unfortunately, we couldn't get in there, give you any live talk about the Bethune-Cookman game. The Alabama is on the road. It's still in the rain delay, so we'll get to follow it and see what goes on. It'll be interesting to see what this does in terms of this matchup. But I want to say thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab with the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We hope you enjoyed, as we talked about, that interview on this special edition with BCSN with Jasher Cox, the new athletic director at Allen University. So go and check out that show when you get a chance. Maybe you can check it out as you're waiting for this game to start. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watch, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday, 6 o'clock right here. And as well as Sunday morning, we do that 9 a.m. edition to break down what took place on Saturday and obviously the Thursday matchups as well when they are played. So check us out there. go to my JBN, my BCSN, download the app so we can keep you updated as you receive spinning out some of these special BCS editions where you get insight in terms of great interviews specifically for ADs, commissioners, chancellors, presidents. We'll pull it all out, some player interviews, coaches as well. So check out for those specials. Download the My JBN, My BCSN app. We got a lot of special things in store. So keep up with us. You really want to know what's going on here. We thank you for joining us. Check out all our other shows. We have the pregame show. It'll be interesting as they're on the road. So focus on them. Charles is a special. He's on the sideline. Great interview. Check him out on his app. Charles Bishop. Find him on Instagram. You get the latest and greatest. That's pregame show with Charles Bishop and Neely. Also, in terms of ONG, they just had some shows. They give you some insights in terms of what's going on in Tallahassee. FAMU, a lot of good stuff going on there. Can't forget about one of the original players of the game. That's Brian and A. Sports Rap. They're going to give you a glimpse of all that, and they focus a lot more on the mid-major division. So they give you some great insight. And then, you know, on the Mondays, we open a week. When you talk about the Knights of the Round Table, come in and hear from the Black College that is covering all this. Photographers, specialists all over the place, giving you that information. That's HBCU Pro Sports Media. Check that out. Extremely important. BJ Jones, as he's back in the mix. Check him out on Sunday as he gets it done. Carlos Brown, Saturday, is going to give you 2 hours of nothing but love as you get ready to get into your action as you are grilling and getting all that done. You tune him in and just keep up with BCSN as we give you love. Anything that you want to add before I tune it out, Charles?
Yeah, looking forward to some great action. I see my man, our friend, the enforcer, Big Bob Carter. He's watching, so definitely want to shout out to Robert Carter. So
yeah, everybody put the enforcer name like
one
that.
of the enforcers in the SWAC. Hey,
Yeah,
he used to protect Lindsey Hunter. So yeah, Big Bob Carter.
No
yeah,
doubt. I don't want to
shout
come
him
out
out.
Jackson. He talking about Wood Point. No, brother, point him out. He good.
Hey, he would set screens that would leave you cross-eyed. So shout out to Bob Carter.
Oh, there it is. So we look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the news. Check us out on Sunday before we get into next week. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. That's DrKenyattCavil. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1. That's Twitter, Facebook. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube and Facebook. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. I'm going to sneak in and see if we can get Roy in here to kick us off with this. Roy? He's back there pushing all those buttons. Stick him in there. I'll do it. Course, Charles?
Lecture.
Dismissed.
He got in there.